Coming to another contradiction wherein it is said in classical model of universe that to begin with they were under the impression that the universe is static, but when Hubble observed the masses in the night sky, he saw that almost all the masses were moving away from each other, and hence when they were moving away from each other, it was theorized that at some point of time they would have started from a single point, which is Big Bang. That is how it was presented, and it was what Hubble found out was that the universe was not just expanding, it was accelerating, which means there is some energy which is putting its foot on the pedal and your universe is accelerating. If that is the situation, and it was suggested that gravity being the primary reason why the universe exists, a time will come when gravity will override this accelerating force, and there would be a big crunch, and they would come back to a Big Bang and a new cycle starting. We will see the cycle does start, but as you see here, let us assume there are only two masses in the universe, just two. As the universe is expanding, you see that these two stars, the distance is growing farther and farther, and as we know through the space gradient of Einstein, that these two masses, there is no way it will be able to have any effect on the other mass, because we are trying to bring back the universe. So as you expand, the universe expands, the gravity reduces, but dark energy is not going to reduce. Dark energy ultimately, as we see, this is existence. The whole existence is in a cocoon of nothingness, as we had studied in Manthan cycle. So this existence is positive pressure, however high, low, whatever it is. As long as there is matter in the universe, there is a positive pressure. Obviously, when there is a positive pressure, you want to move towards negative pressure, which is nothingness. So even if there is one mass, dark energy would still be moving things along. Compare this to this gravity, which is reducing and almost zero. There is no way it can bring back. So how would universe, the Manthan, try and present universe as a cycle? So as universe expands, we know the energy reduces and the space grows stronger. As we had seen, the gravity may reduce as the universe expands, but spacity is increasing, because energy is dissipating at the cost of space. Space is taking all that energy. So space is in a better position to pull this energy which had escaped nothingness during Big Bang, to put it back into nothingness. So once it puts it back, again it escapes. So this is the cycle which is a possibility with respect to spacity as compared to gravity. Now what exactly happens when you when space puts the energy into nothingness is that for an observer, it is as though the universe has gone out of existence, it has gone into nothingness. It may take millions and trillions of years for the infinite energy to come out of nothingness, but for me, it is immediate, because time for me has stopped, because time depends on energy, energy has vanished, space has vanished. Whenever it comes back, it seems as though it is immediate. Now we also should understand the tango of nothingness and infinity. We know that 1 by infinity is equal to 0 and 1 by 0 is equal to infinity. When you see this infinite energy escaping nothingness, or for that matter, space restoring the energy which was depleting back to infinite levels, because the space would be 0 and 0 volume, infinite pressure. When this is happening, we will see that you can breach nothingness only if you have a ticket called infinity. You can come out of nothingness, you have an infinity. You can go into nothingness, you can infinity, if you have infinity as a ticket. In the sense, let us assume there are just 2 people in the whole of universe. So if I move away from my friend, the universe is expanding, but I cannot vanish myself. Though I am just next to the nothingness, I cannot get into nothingness, because to get into nothingness, I have to have the infinity ticket. Provided I convert myself to infinity, I can go into nothingness and come back. That is how. So key to understanding infinity lies in understanding the concept of 0, because 0 is the only one who can handle infinity. So when we see this, the prerequisites to build a universe, earlier we said energy, space and time. Actually speaking, it is energy, space, time and nothingness. So if you see energy, space and time are nothing but another form of energy. Energy is the one which is first among equals. So it is energy and nothingness. When we see energy and nothingness, nothing is nothingness. So it is just infinite energy. So if you have just pure infinite energy, you can build a universe, expand the universe, the space puts it back into nothingness, come out of the universe, come out of nothingness, build another universe. So the whole cycle goes on, and it is a perfect insulation. Nothingness is a perfect insulation. Energy doesn't get lost. It always was infinite at infinite level and will always be at infinite level. But what is more important is to find out where exactly we are on this cycle. We know for sure we are not on the space inflation, because that was at a speed higher than the speed of light. It cannot be somewhere near, but we know for sure we are here. But where exactly? Or how far are we to the extent where we are going to be put into nothingness? So when you compare universe to an IC engine or a heat engine, internal combustion engine, you will see there is quite a bit of similarity. You have a big bang, you have a space inflation, and then the space fighting and putting it back into nothingness. Whereas in IC engine, whether you take petrol or diesel, you are igniting petrol, which is similar to big bang, and then the space inflation, as soon as the petrol bursts or diesel bursts, so you have a space inflation at a very high speed, and then the piston fights back, space fights back. Piston is the one which pushes all the exhaust out. So there is a possibility that we could consider the Carnot cycle, which is basically a pressure volume diagram of a heat engine. So let us study that a bit. So what is a heat engine? Heat engine is a mechanical contraption which converts the heat source to mechanical work. So you have petrol or diesel, you ignite it, you are able to move the car. So mechanical work. So we are more interested in efficiency, how efficiently, effectively we can exploit the heat source, which is petrol or diesel. So for us, efficiency is most important. Efficiency 100% is not possible, because it is a real world. There will be losses of heat when you are trying to extract work from it. And the processes that we employ in a heat engine or an IC engine is expansion and compression. So as you see here, this is the situation where it all starts. So the air fuel mixture is sucked in. Air fuel mixture is sucked in. And then when you compress it, you start compressing. So this is isothermal compression, and when the pressure increases, when you can't compress it any more than that, pressure is high, then that is where the spark plug burns the petrol. So that is where it is, and then it expands. To begin with, it is at constant temperature because it is isothermal expansion, and then it is isotropic expansion, and when it pushes it back, all the exhaust is driven away. So compare that to this. Let us put this as Big Bang. Isothermal expansion, because the temperature when the Big Bang happened would be, for this stage, would be constant. And then now we are somewhere here on the expanding universe, that is where the universe is, the temperature is dropping, and here the universe expanded very fast, whereas here it is expanding slow, very similar to what we talked about. And then the space fights back. When it fights back to an extent where possibly the volume becomes zero, it is infinite energy and it is coming back. So let us convert this, the pressure volume cycle or the Carnot cycle, to the universe. Obviously I cannot show the infinity, but it will be on this line, where that is where the Big Bang happens. So this is where the space is inflating, the temperature is infinite, and these are isothermal curves. Now at 2, obviously it starts cooling down, that is where the expanding universe is there, it is slow, and the pressure and the temperature are falling. And then somewhere here the space fights back, possibly that is where the temperature is 0, it is going to be a very cold universe. I have put it as 0 because that is where you get the efficiency as 100%, because universe is, the nothingness is perfect insulator. So when space fights back and reduces the volume to 0, obviously the pressure of the universe would be infinite, because whatever the mass that was there, you are trying to bring it to 0 volume. Obviously all the energy that was there gets converted into infinite energy. So when you reach this place, it shoots through, and when it is reaching infinity, it breaches nothingness. When the infinite level comes to nothingness, which is on this scale is 0, 0, where there is no pressure, there is no volume, no time also, and since the energy is at infinite level, again it escapes, and when it escapes, this is the pressure, this is the point that it comes, and this whole cycle starts. V for sure or on this line, but where exactly you are? Let us try and see the density of the universe when it is expanding. When it is expanding, the density obviously would be reducing. You have a given mass is constant, so the volume is increasing. So you would say that the rho 2 minus rho 1 would be m2 v2 by minus m1 by v1. Since the mass is constant, so the change in density would come to mass into v2 minus v1 divided by v1 v2. So after 13.8 billion years of expansion at 70 kilometers per second now, which would have been much higher rate of expansion earlier, as much as more than the speed of light, you would see that v2 minus v1 as compared to v1 by v2, v1 and v2 are two big volumes, infinite volumes, possibly the edge of universe. So when you have numerator v2 minus v1, which would be very, very less as compared to multiplication of v1 v2, you would end up in a situation where the density, there would be a different there would be a change in density, but it is very close to 0. It is as though the pressure is not changing. So when the density is not changing, pressure is not changing. So that means this curve that we have shown as touching here, it is almost parallel. So we are somewhere here where the change in density is not much, and hence the change in pressure is not much, but where exactly from here till the end we do not know. Possibly the end of this line is not infinity. It has to be somewhere in between, because space, when it is going to pull the whole mass back to the situation of infinite levels, it has to have energy. If you are going to infinite level, all the energy would be dissipated. So it is possible that it would be halfway through, I really do not know, something like that.